importantly, right behind us in these mountains, that is where the Palisades fire is burning. That is Pacific Palisades. We're talking about 11,000 plus acres that have burned right now. The Associated Press now reporting that it is the most single destructive fire in the history of Los Angeles. You're talking about in this area some 50, 60,000 people who have evacuated. You look over here, this was the Topanga Ranch Motel. It is now gone. On the other side of the Pacific Coast Highway is the ocean, and the homes on the other side, most of them up and down, are gone. And then you have the Eaton fire, which is in Pasadena, Altadena. It is also above 10,000 acres now. They've got at least hundreds of homes there, 1,000 homes in the Palisades destroyed, and other structures. And about 35 minutes ago, we took a drive up the road here and got deeper into Malibu to give you an idea of exactly how fast this fire is moving. Watch this. I want to give you an idea of how fast this fire was moving in the early hours. You see this hillside here, how it was burned all the way down. The winds were 70 plus miles per hour. This is the Pacific Coast Highway. Right now we are in southern Malibu, just north of Pacific Palisades, that was devastated. Let's just let these fire vehicles go across and we'll walk across the road. So the fire came down this hill and then it crossed over Pacific Coast Highway. You can see some of the power lines here. This pole was burned in half, and as you walk over here you can see the oceanfront homes here. This one is clearly still on fire. There's not a lot of water in this area, so as you go down the line there's not really a lot that fire crews can do to protect the rest of these homes. But if you come over here you can see the ocean and the oceanfront homes, multi-million-dollar oceanfront homes, and as far as the eye can see down here, it is home after home destroyed, burned to the ground. And this is Malibu, where the crux of the fire hasn't even gotten to yet.
We want to go for this soundbite because we were asking what Governor Newsom and President Biden have had to say about this afternoon. They made an opening statement briefly at this weather center, but here is part of the sound from Governor Newsom and then a family announcement from President Biden. Watch.
Got notification yesterday that home was probably burning down. Today, there's standing not sure. Good news is, I'm a great grandfather as of today. Granddaughter. I'm a baby girl, a baby boy. So I remember this day for a lot of long.
Announcement of a great-grandchild, and also that Hunter Biden's house appears to have been spared. More to come. That is the story for today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
We have to go live to Capitol Hill.
In other words, we gave it to him
where
for
President
nothing.
Trump's
the most
speaking.
expensive structure ever built in the history of our country, relatively speaking. The most expensive, by far. We lost 38,000 people. They gave it to him for $1. And then they charge more for our ships. It's not going to happen. And China's running the Panama Canal. That's not going to happen either.
Mr. President, on California, Mr. President, during the pandemic, you often said that you didn't believe that you should bail out blue states that you believe were being mismanaged. Given your criticism of Governor Gavin Newsom, are you willing to work with him, and do you believe that federal aid should be provided to California for as long as it takes?
Well, it's very sad because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way, called a smelt. And for the sake of a smelt, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles. It was a terrible thing. And we're going to get that done. It's going to finally be done. I got it done from the federal side, and he didn't want to sign it, but it's not going to happen again like that. There's no reason. Can you imagine? You have farmers that don't have any water in California. They have plenty of water. They don't have a drought. They send it out to the Pacific, and it's crazy. So what's happening in California is a true tragedy. I know those areas very well. I have many friends living in those houses. That is a true tragedy. Nobody ever thought. I mean, virtually Beverly Hills and areas around Beverly Hills are being decimated. The biggest homes, some of the most valuable homes in the world are just destroyed. I don't even know. You know, you talk about a tax base. If those people leave, you're going to lose half your tax base of California. This is a true tragedy, and it's a mistake of the governor And you could say the administration. They don't have any water. They didn't have water in the fire hydrants. They don't have water. And yet they have, the water comes from, you know where? Up north. And it comes down at levels, they give millions and millions of barrels of gallons of water that they have, and they send it out into the Pacific. For the Pacific, it's like a drop, it's nothing. But for California, it would take care of the whole state. So what's happened is a tragedy, and the governor has not done a good job. With that being said, I got along well with him. When he was governor, we worked together very well, and we would work together. I guess it looks like we're going to be the one having to rebuild it. But what happened there, I don't think there's anything that I've ever seen quite like it. And the insurance companies are going to have a big problem, because you're talking about big, big dollars.
Cheney, Biden pardon Liz Cheney. What's your message for President Biden? He said he
Oh,
might.
I thought it was ridiculous that he did that, but we have more important things to talk about. Liz Cheney was, she lost in the Republican Party, as you know, in her state, by the biggest margin in the history of a politician running for Congress. She lost by like 42 points. Nobody's ever lost like that. So I don't care about Liz Cheney. I care about these people.
President Trump, millions of deportations. What does day one going to look like in the Trump administration?
Number one, we're closing the border. It's going to be closed very strongly. It's going to be closed. And we're going to have to take people out that are criminals. We have people from jails from all over the world and from mental institutions. And as you know, they're going to have to be removed. And it's one of the reasons I won the election in a landslide. The people of this country don't want murderers walking down their farms or their streets or their cities. As you know, we had thousands of people that murdered other people that were in jail that were released into our country. Many of those people murdered more than one person, many of them, about 42% supposedly. We want them out of our country, and we're going to get a country back again, and we're going to be really governed by common sense. These are the principles of common sense. We're not going to be governed by stupid people. We're going to common sense. We're going to be respected all over the world again very soon.
A Fox News alert: devastating and apocalyptic scenes in California. Multiple raging wildfires scorching Los Angeles for well over 24 hours now, ravaging everything in their path, fueled by ferocious wind gusts up to 90 miles per hour. The raging blazes are so far 0% contained. 2 people have been killed. Jonathan Hunt is in Pacific Palisades, California. He's been there all day, and we appreciate your work and your update. If you could tell us what you see right now.
Sure, Dana, and the bad news for everybody here is that the homes continue to burn, one after another after another. Take a look at this one behind me. This was not burning when we started talking to Martha McCallum just 2 hours ago, but flames flicked over from another house that was burning, and within 2 hours, this entire structure, which is a large home, as you can tell, on a large footprint of land here, almost completely gone. The concern now, as Brian looks up here, is the home next to it. You can see some flames just licking at the corner of that fence there. And this is the problem here. We're getting these gusts of wind still, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. And they pick up embers from one of these fires, take it over there, and then that next house gets ablaze. The firefighters were here just a moment ago. They may have tamped down some of the area around the side of that, but they've now left. And then as we look back down here, you can see the neighborhood ahead of me, almost completely destroyed. House after house after house. And another, as Brian pans left slightly, another huge fire going on right there. And as we look up at the sky, you can see the smoke that this here. The sun has been trying to break through. And as I just look back down here ahead of us now, this fire looks a particularly intense one as we look towards it now. We're limited in how far we can go, both for safety and technical reasons, but that is a fierce one burning now. One more home that is destroyed. And Brian, just turn back to me here, Brian. Right behind me now, we've got another one that is... This is happening again and again, Dana. We are a long way from the end of what is already one of the worst wildfires in terms of destruction in California history. Dana?
Jonathan Hunt, please stay safe. Thank you so much. And as the Pacific Palisades wildfire becomes the most destructive in Los Angeles history, the city's mayor, she was out of the country while all of this was happening. Karen Bass is back in the United States now. She had gone to Africa to attend the inauguration of Ghana's president. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom and President Biden are currently in the state getting briefed on the fast-spreading fires with officials. The president pledging he's prepared to do anything and everything as long as it takes to contain the fires. They took no questions, but Newsom was full of praise for Joe, and the president felt it was important to focus on this.
There's only one piece of good news. My son lives out here and his wife. They got notification yesterday their home is probably burned to the ground. Today, it appears that it may be still standing. We're not sure. But the good news is I'm a great-grandfather as of today. My granddaughter.
Mr. President, thank you for being here, but not just being here today. Thank you for being here since the minute of this incident, when there was a 10-acre fire, less than 24 or so hours to go. Deep gratitude.
All right, more on that in a moment. Kennedy, let's start with you. You were somebody I thought of first thing last night when I saw these were happening. I know that you spent a lot of your life there, and you have a home there, and you had a particular exchange with Jonathan Hunt today.
I did, and it just goes to show you what a family Fox is. So I was up all night with my daughters, incredibly worried about our home, our friend's home. Our best friends live there. I've talked to 4 of my best friends. They've all lost their homes within a block or 2 of where we live. As Jonathan is showing you, it's a very fluid situation. I don't feel like any neighborhood is safe there right now. It's house by house. It's not even street by street. And Emily Campagno knew that I was very worried because I had a friend take some stuff out of the house, and there was so much that I left behind. And I left behind my grandfather's sword from World War I and some baby pictures that you see there. That's Nikki. That's Jonathan Hunt's producer. Wow. He was kind enough to drive by, and I asked him if he would go into the house and just grab a couple of things for me, and he was able to do that. Wow. And, the 90 seconds that they had. And our house may not remain. It's still a very unstable situation. I hope and pray that it does. I pray for everyone there. But the fact that he was able to get those family heirlooms means so much to me.
I can imagine. That was definitely something over and beyond. Yeah. And that's great. Harold Ford Jr., your observations on this continuing situation.
I have, like Kennedy, a few friends and family that are there, and a dear friend who's lost his home and his family's home. The stories are obviously only going to likely multiply. I hope and pray not only for all of the first responders and those who have loved ones there, and obviously those who are affected. I'm heartened by the fact that the casualty level seems to be low. Don't get me wrong, the 2 people who have lost their lives, their families, our hearts and prayers go out to them. But the homes and the schools and the physical structures that have been lost, the impact this is going to have is just untold. I think Matt was saying at the outset, it's incalculable at this point, or I should say the calculations are enormously high at this point. It's only going to get worse. I would imagine that some of the efforts to try to get water into these areas from various states or neighboring states is underway, and I'm hopeful and prayerful that the weather improves so that they can at least begin to do the aerial water drops in ways that can be more helpful. But this is just an awful, awful situation, and my prayers go out to everyone in that area.
Jesse Waters.
Yeah, we're all praying for everybody out there. We all know people and hope everything turns out for you, Kennedy, and your friends. That video we just saw is so symbolic. You have one political leader who's out of the country. You have another political leader who makes it about himself. And you have the other political leader who's just not doing his job. They've contained 0% of this fire, and it didn't need to be this way. This man cannot manage water or forests. Did you know they've had record rainfall and he hasn't built a single reservoir? Hasn't broken ground in a single reservoir. It rains in California and it just washes into the ocean. He is bragging about tearing dams down. He tore more dams down than anybody in the